Once upon a time, there lived a woman who lived in the big city with her daughter. Her name was Joke, and her daughter Abike lived like a slave in her own mother's house. Joke hated her daughter with a passion and never spared an opportunity to show it. She never cared for Abike or tried to hide her disdain for her. She believed Abike was useless, despite knowing how intelligent and hardworking she was. Even her neighbors all wondered if Abike was truly her own daughter because of how wicked she was to her. One evening, Abike returned home to meet her mother sick and bedridden. Despite her mother's harsh treatment, she rushed to the market with her little savings to buy some medications for her and food items to prepare her mother a hot meal. Her mother, Joke, instead of showing gratitude to her, yelled out angrily, saying that she didn't ask for her pity. You prostitute, I wonder how many men you had to sleep with to get the money to buy these items. I really don't know why God had to curse me with you, she said to Abike, who broke down in tears to hear such hurtful words from her mother. However, Abike endured her mother's abuse and continued to take care of her. She knew in her heart that her mother's hatred was undeserved, but she made up her mind to love her regardless of her wickedness. The neighbors, seeing Abike's unwavering dedication, had pity on her. They wondered how such a cruel woman could have such a compassionate and kind daughter. Not only was Abike loving and kind to her mother, she was also kind to everyone around her. She tutored the young children in the neighborhood and shared what little she had with those that were in need. One day, while she was returning home, she came across a young man who seemed to pick an interest in her. They got talking, and the young man decided to escort Abike home. When they arrived at the house, her mother caught sight of them and began to say things that Abike never imagined. Useless prostitute, you have returned again with another man. Hope he is well prepared to treat infections, or you didn't tell him that you were a carrier of infections? Abike could not believe her ears. She watched as her mother warned the young man to stay away from her daughter if he wanted to live a long and fulfilling life. The young man, who was now visibly uncomfortable, looked at Abike in shock. She tried to say something, but lacked the words. The young man, without saying anything, excused himself, promising to visit again, but Abike knew in that moment that the damage had already been done. She knew that Femi would likely never return, and this broke her heart to see the length her own mother was willing to go just to see her unhappy. She stood in front of her mother, feeling her heart beat through her chest. Abike could not hold back her pain. She asked her mother why she hated her so much, despite all the love that she had shown to her, and her mother lashed out at her, asking what she means by her statement. Love? Don't ever use that word with me. You're a curse, a reminder of everything I've lost. You should be grateful I even let you live in my house, you unfortunate animal, she said as she walked out on Abike. The words stung like knives, but Abike said nothing more. She returned to her room and cried herself to sleep. The next morning, Abike woke up to clean the house. The events of the previous day continued to replay in her mind, but she decided to let it go. Abike made excuses for her mother, forgiving her despite all that she had done. Later that afternoon, as Abike was about heading out of the house, her mother stopped her to ask for the money that she left in her room. Abike looked so confused. I didn't take any money from your room, Mama, she said to her mother, who slapped her hard across the face and called her a thief. Joke's slap landed with a crack, the sting spreading across Abike's cheek like fire. The young woman stumbled back, clutching her face as hot tears welled up in her eyes. The room felt suffocating, every cruel word from her mother slicing through the air like shards of broken glass. You liar! Joke's voice was sharp, venom dripping from every syllable. Her eyes, filled with rage, burned into Abigail like smoldering coals. She stormed towards the laundry basket, her footsteps heavy, echoing like thunder in the small room. Abigail watched in horror as her mother pulled out a dirty piece of soiled underwear. The rancid smell hit her before the words did. If you want to live like a thief, then eat like a thief. Joker screamed, forcing the filthy garment towards Abigail's trembling lips. Abigail gagged, her sobs catching in her throat as she struggled to push her mother away. The humiliation burned hotter than the slap, her dignity crushed under the weight of her mother's fury. When Joker finally let go, throwing her to the ground like discarded trash, Abigail curled into herself, shaking uncontrollably. The room was silent, except for the sound of her broken sobs. The once familiar walls now felt cold and alien, their faded paint a dull grey that mirrored the emptiness in her chest. She crawled to her room, the rough wooden floor scraping against her palms as she shut the door behind her. The silence was deafening, her cries echoing in the emptiness as she hugged her knees to her chest, rocking back and forth. The moonlight spilled through the window, casting long shadows on the walls as if even the night mourned her pain. Abigail sat there, wondering how someone could hate their own child this much. Deep down, she prayed for a way out of her misery, though she couldn't bring herself to hate her mother. The days that followed were filled with more torment for Abigail, whose mother's cruelty escalated to the point that she accused her of being the root of all her misfortunes. If only I got rid of you, my life would have been a whole lot better, she said to Abigail, who could not hold back her tears to hear such hurtful words from her mother on her birthday. Abigail had the entire birthday planned out, hoping to celebrate with her beloved mother, who saw no reason to be celebrating in the first place. She wore black and sat in the corner, mourning like one who had just lost a child, and Abigail watched her with a broken heart. She could not understand how her mother could harbor such level of hatred towards her. So Abigail, feeling so heartbroken and dejected, left the house to go clear her head. She walked aimlessly through the streets as tears poured down her eyes. Abigail could not take the weight of her mother's hatred anymore. She felt utterly defeated, unloved and abandoned. As she wandered through the streets, lost in her own thoughts, a speeding vehicle ran into her as she was about crossing the busy road. People gathered as they watched Abigail struggle for her dear life. She was quickly rushed to the hospital and the doctors wheeled her in for an emergency surgery. The driver, who was a young woman like Abigail, sat there petrified as the accident replayed in her mind over and over again. She remembered having an argument over the phone when she took her eyes off the road for a split second, leading to the accident. Her family had no idea that she had taken the car out of the house. She sat there shaking, praying that Abigail made it out alive. Meanwhile, the news of the accident reached the ears of Abigail's mother, who cared less if she was dead or alive. The people urged her to go see her daughter in the hospital, but Joke paid no mind to them, claiming that she was too busy. Days passed, and Joke never showed up at the hospital to see her daughter. Abigail slowly recovered in her hospital ward, and the young woman who hit her down with her car ensured that she was well taken care of. All her efforts to get through to Abigail's mother proved futile, and this made her wonder why a woman would abandon her own daughter at a time like this. Filled with so much curiosity, the young woman, whose name was Doyin, approached Abigail one afternoon to ask why. Abigail could not help but cry. The memories came crashing back as she began narrating the whole story to her. What had happened was that so many years ago, Abigail's father died of a heart attack after Abigail accused him of taking advantage of her severally. All efforts by Abigail to prove to her mother that she was telling the truth fell on deaf ears as her mother made up her mind not to believe her story. She found it hard to believe and blamed Abike for the death of her husband, warning her never to mention such lies in her miserable life. That was how the hatred began, and Abike for all these years did all she could to win back her mother's love. Doyin could not believe her ears. She could not believe that a mother would turn a deaf ear to such a serious allegation. What was even more baffling was the fact that her mother hated her because of the truth. They sat there in the hospital ward, talking, when Abike's mother walked in to reveal that Abike was no longer welcome in her home. I will soon be married, and I don't want you prostitute to come seduce my husband and ruin my marriage and happiness. Joke warned Abike never to show her face around her home again, and Abike could not hold back her tears. She could not believe that her mother cut ties with her because of her proposed marriage. This was the first time that her mother was visiting the hospital in weeks, and Abike sat there broken as she watched her mother drop off her bags and walk out the hospital door. Abike had nowhere else to go. She sat there, her eyes filled with tears, as Doyin did all she could to comfort her. Don't worry, you will go home with me, Doyin said, as she reassured Abike that everything will be fine. Doyin took Abike home, determined to provide her with the love and care that she had been denied all of her life. Several months later, Abike's mother realized that her new marriage was far from what she had envisioned. Her husband, who she so desperately clung to, turned out to be so abusive and unfaithful. He beat her up at every slightest provocation and threatened to leave her if she ever discussed their marriage with anyone. He now lived in Ajoke's home and prohibited any form of visitation from anyone. Ajoke began to live like a prisoner in her own home. He even went further to squander all her savings on other women, forcing her to do menial jobs just to fund his ridiculous lifestyle. Joke lived in extreme fear of her husband, but despite this, she never wanted to do anything that would make him leave. She feared being alone and believed that the agony she was going through was far better than being lonely. So, she endured his every mistreatment, hoping to save her marriage, but her husband abandoned her several years later. She woke up one morning to find out that her husband was gone, along with the little money she had managed to save. He left a note on the kitchen table, which read, "I've had enough of you and your miserable life. I found someone better. Don't bother looking for me. You're on your own now." The words cut deep, and for the first time in her life, Joke felt the true weight of abandonment. She was now alone, broke, and with no one else to turn to. She sank into deep depression, and her neighbors all looked at her with contempt. They whispered about how karma had caught up with her, and no one offered to help her or comfort her. One evening, whilst walking back home from a long day of cleaning houses to earn a living, Joke fainted on the side of the road. She was rushed to the hospital by strangers, and the doctor diagnosed her with a chronic illness that required immediate treatment. But Joke had no money left to pay the bills. She sat in her hospital bed, weeping, wondering how low she had fallen. Her heart was so heavy, remembering how her husband walked out on her with all that she had. As she sat there weeping, a nurse in the hospital approached her to know why she was crying. Through her sobs, Joke narrated her story to the nurse, revealing how her wicked husband abandoned her with nothing. She had no money to pay her hospital bills and had no one else to turn to. Filled with compassion, the nurse decided to give Joke the money to clear her hospital bills. Joke was so delighted. She thanked her greatly for her kindness and promised to repay the money, even if it was the last thing that she did. A few days later, Joke was discharged from the hospital and told to rest. She arrived home, happy to still be alive. However, her home was no longer a home. It was so quiet and lonely, and Joke wished that she had someone to talk to. All her neighbors avoided her like a plague, and despite all she did to get them to like and associate with her, no one dared to come close. So Joke decided to always sit outside her home alone, hoping to find anyone willing to talk to her. She did this for days, but no one paid any form of attention to her. Joke was so heartbroken. She began to remember all the terrible things that her husband did to her. She wished he was still around. Loneliness was now eating her up, and Joke sat there in tears, wishing that someone would at least talk to her. When a young woman walked by and saw her crying, "Mama, why are you crying?" the young woman asked, as she sat down beside Joke with concern written all over her face. Joke looked up, startled that someone was speaking to her after days of isolation. Desperate for companionship, Joke opened up to her. She narrated her story to her, how her husband abandoned her, her struggles to survive, and also the illness that she suffered. She conveniently left out the story of how she mistreated her daughter Abike, painting herself as a victim of life's misfortunes. The young woman, whose name was Tenny, felt pity for Joke and decided to help. She began visiting Joke regularly, bringing food, medicine, and a little money to support her. Tenny's kindness became a light in Joke's dark world, and for a while, Joke felt cared for again. As Tenny's visits became frequent, Joke began comparing her to Abike. "If only my daughter was like you," she would say, shaking her head. "You are kind, respectful, and caring. My daughter is useless, a curse. I regret ever giving birth to her." Tenny, though kind, did not appreciate Joke's words. So one day, she gently but firmly said, "Mama, you should never compare your child to anyone else. Every child is different, and sometimes we as parents don't understand how our actions shape them." Joke dismissed her advice, coughing. "You don't know my daughter. She is nothing like you," she said. But Tenny felt so disappointed to hear such words from her. She decided to head home when Joke slumped on the chair and was rushed back to the hospital. The doctors revealed that she needed an urgent heart transplant, but Joke had no money to afford such a treatment. Tenny stood there confused, unable to bear the thought of Joke dying without help. Tenny decided to reach out to people for financial assistance. She posted on social media, shared Joke's story online, and even contacted organizations that she believed could be of assistance. Her efforts caught the attention of an organization who agreed to cater to her entire hospital bill. Joke was so elated. She thanked Tenny for always being there for her, wishing that she was her own daughter. Joke's heart surgery was a success, and after a few weeks of recovery, she was discharged from the hospital. The organization that had funded her surgery also offered her a monthly stipend to support her living expenses, and Joke was so overwhelmed with gratitude. She expressed her thanks to Tenny repeatedly, asking what she did to deserve a woman like her. "I would trade you with my daughter any day, anytime," she said to Tenny, who felt so terrible to hear this from her. "Your daughter is somewhere out there. Why don't you make a little effort to find her?" She asked Joke, who told her that nothing good can ever come out from her daughter Abike. "She's good for nothing, and I'm sure she's somewhere out there, selling her body to a useless man for money." Tenny could not believe her ears. She stood there heartbroken to hear Joke spill such vile words about Abike. What Joke did not know was that the organization that came to her rescue was run by none other than her daughter Abike. Abike had built the foundation years earlier, dedicating her life to helping women who had been abandoned or mistreated, just as she had once been. Despite her mother's cruelty, Abike had secretly ensured that Joke was well taken care of. She had paid her hospital bills through Tenny, who worked for her, and even orchestrated the monthly stipend that Joke currently received. All the while, Joke continued to complain about her daughter to Tenny, not knowing that Tenny worked for her daughter Abike. Tenny struggled to hold back her emotions each time, knowing the truth about Abike's sacrifices. She often hinted at Joke's role in shaping Abike's choices, but Joke dismissed it, too consumed by her bitterness. One day, Tenny could no longer keep the truth to herself. She decided to take Joke to the foundation's headquarters under the guise of meeting the people who had helped her with her surgery. When they arrived, Joke was struck by the grand building and the warm atmosphere inside. She looked around in awe as Tenny guided her to the director's office. When the door opened, Joke's jaw dropped to see her daughter Abike sitting behind the desk, radiating confidence and grace. Joke could not believe her eyes. She froze in shock, realizing that her daughter Abike owned the grand building that they were standing in. She watched in shock as Tenny referred to her daughter Abike as her boss. Joke could barely speak. Her lips trembled as her knees gave way. She slumped into a chair, wondering how her daughter was able to achieve all these within a short period of time. What she did not know was that Doyin, the woman who she abandoned her daughter with at the hospital, turned out to be the only child of a top politician in the country. After hearing Abike's story and seeing how Joke abandoned Abike in the hospital with nowhere else to go, Doyin decided to take her home to her parents. She narrated Abike's story to them, and they decided to take Abike in as one of their own. Her parents were deeply moved by Abike's story. They admired her resilience despite all that she had endured. So, they ensured that Abike had everything that she so needed: a home, a family, and a chance at a better life. Abike completed the university with their help. She graduated as the best in her department, and Doyin's parents asked her what she wanted to do next. Abike decided to set up the foundation, and Doyin's parents provided her with everything she needed. With their financial support, Abike established the organization to help women who were abandoned. Joke could not believe her ears. She never knew that her wickedness towards her daughter was what launched her to the life of success that she enjoyed. All the while, she thought that her daughter was useless, not knowing that life had a better plan for her. Joke could not contain her regret. She apologized to Abike for how badly she had treated her in the past, and Abike listened quietly to her mother's apology, her expression calm but distant. After a long pause, she finally spoke, her voice steady and resolute. "Mama, I forgive you, not because what you did was right, but because holding on to the pain doesn't help me anymore. I've learned to move on, and I don't want bitterness to have any place in my heart." Joke's tears flowed freely as she reached out for Abike's hands. "Thank you, Abike. You are a far more better person than I could ever be. I don't deserve your kindness or your forgiveness, but I'm grateful you've given it to me." Abike looked at her mother with a mixture of compassion and firmness. "Mama, I've forgiven you, but I can't forget what I endured. Forgiveness doesn't mean going back to the same place where the hurt happened. I will take care of you and make sure you never lack, but I cannot live with you or be the daughter you once pushed away." Joke's heart sank at Abike's words, but she knew they were true. Her daughter had grown into a strong, independent woman who had risen above the darkness she had imposed on her. Abike continued, "Mama, I'll make sure you're comfortable. The foundation will support you, and I'll check on you regularly, but I need my space to live the life I've built for myself." Joke nodded through her tears, understanding the consequences of her action. She whispered, "I don't deserve even that much from you, but thank you for not abandoning me like I abandoned you." From that day on, Abike ensured her mother had everything she needed: health care, a comfortable home, and regular visits to ensure she was well. However, she maintained a healthy distance, protecting the peace and stability she had worked so hard to achieve. Joke lived the remaining of her life, wishing that she treated Abike better. Although she lived a comfortable life provided by her daughter Abike, she knew that she had lost the chance to be a mother to the most remarkable woman that she had ever known. Joke spent her days reflecting on her mistakes, often wondering what her life would have been like if she had treated Abike with the love and respect that she deserved. The lesson to be learned from this story is that love, kindness, and forgiveness can transform lives, but the scars of mistreatment often linger. Parents have a responsibility to nurture and cherish their children, as the way they treat them shapes their future and their relationship. Abike's story shows that resilience and compassion can overcome even the harshest circumstances. Despite the pain inflicted on her, she chose to rise above bitterness and build a life filled with purpose and service to others. However, forgiveness does not mean returning to toxic environments. Protecting one's peace is equally vital. I hope you enjoyed the story.